Hi, I'm Alex Macey from Gamvisory. It's good to be speaking to you guys actually, because you were one of the first platforms I spoke to, I think a couple of years back, maybe even longer, when I was kind of quite early on emerging from my journey from disordered gambling. And since that point, I guess some things have changed and progressed as well. I've come out of the police now, which, I'm very happy with. And I guess I've tried to be a bit of a voice, to disordered gamblers out there, both that are struggling and still struggling, throughout their journeys. Because I always say to people that it's not a magic wand when you stop gambling, because you're going to be faced with a lot of turmoil in your lives, and I see that ongoing with people, and I too suffer occasionally with dips. Um, so since leaving the police, I created my platform called Gamvisory, and that was really a knee-jerk idea, as a result of my despise for the Gambling Commission, actually. And it's, I've made it long before it was sort of fashionable to speak about how bad the Gambling Commission are. I was doing that a long time ago, and I could identify that the Gambling Commission were the crux of the problems we've got in this country with gambling, because they're ineffective, they're negligent, they ignore evidence, they ignore harms. So that's what really empowered me and triggered me to make Gamvisory. And it was simply to get people together and give them a voice, let them be heard. And also to integrate the crime aspect of which we'll talk about a little bit later. So I created this platform, and then very shortly afterwards, COVID struck. So the whole thing kind of faded away in the sense of the unity, but there were still a few of us actively going with the idea of, I guess, I would say the idea then morphed into getting people's evidence publicly out there, hearing from people that were affected, blogs, and their experiences with companies and the Gambling Commission. And it was getting all that information out there, which we achieved, and we got recognized in many of the reports that were submitted to the government to obviously prompt the review we've got now. And I guess I guess when we achieved that, I kind of took a breather and thought, okay, what do I do now? And I thought, I carry on doing what I'm doing in that sense, but also try and integrate it with an actual sort of business idea. And that business idea is simply an employee assist scheme, and again, that links into the crime side, which I'm interested in. Going to employers, and by having them subscribe to Gamvisory is already a signal to their staff, their employees, that they are willing to listen and willing to allow that stigma for them to ease and come forward straight away before things progress into criminality or many more harms. So the idea is, breaking that stigma early, getting people to come forward, and if they do have a problem with gambling, they're going to be supported. And I guess that's very much in a notion that I was given within the police, that if you make mistakes, if you have problems, you'll be supported. And I think that's something that needs to be out there for the wider sort of industry as a whole, because it's a serious thing. And the idea is to get to people before they have that rock bottom that many of us have, before their families break down, before they lose their house. But that's taken a back seat because I'm still kind of getting involved with helping people, and trying to make some changes politically. I'm quite sort of intertwined in that in a lot of ways. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now, really, with the whole status of Gamvisory. In terms of how I've been able to support individuals that have come to me, or perhaps I've identified myself via Twitter, integrates with another aspect of the platform that I'm actually have made or created in relation to the employee assist scheme. So what I've done is I've created a self-help portal, and I've tested this on a few people to be done. I think it's five stages. I've basically got 5 topics, and the idea of those 5 topics is to give sufferers the information to be kind of enlightened a bit more about what's gone on with them. Um, Whereas we could surmise that other charities, leading charities, might not be getting the information to sufferers that I'm getting to them, probably because of vested interests. So I developed this portal, and what I do is say to people, look, the best help out there is the NHS clinics, without a doubt. Go to them. They're the specialists. They're independent. They're not tied to the BGC's money, basically. So go to them is my advice. And I say to them, whilst you're doing this and or waiting, you can use my portal and understand a little bit more about key topics that help me get through my journey. And I'll just run through a few of them. Firstly would be gambling disorder, and I said this a couple of years ago, that it's an important topic for people to understand and to reduce their stigma and shame. If they understand that it's a mental disorder, they can be kind of at peace with that. So that's a big thing that I try and do. And again, when I was coming through my journey, I would say silently one of my 2 of my proudest achievements is changing problem gambling to disordered gambling. So when I first came on Twitter, I think it was December 2018, disordered gambling wasn't used, and I came straight in there and used that term. And I will take credit for getting that message out there, because now what we see is problem gambling used a lot less. And if people want to use that term, I don't get offended at the end of the day. But by talking about disordered gambling, you're talking about a mental disorder, which has been around, as we know, since 2013. It's more than just a problem. And again, with these industry funded charities like YGAM and GamCare, the responsible gambling matter, I make people aware that this is what they're saying. They're saying it's up to you to deal with this mental disorder, which is beyond your control, and it's rubbish. Don't listen to it. It has no place in what we're trying to achieve. So it's topics such as that and that I try to make people aware of to help with their understanding. Marketing is another one. Another achievement, I would say, actually, when I came along, no one was really talking about the texts and emails and targeted marketing. And now people see, hang on a minute, I'm getting these texts and messages, texts and emails all the time. I've self-excluded. This isn't right, So that it's topics like that that help aid people's understanding. I think everyone agrees in the COVID world, doing things like this in an impersonal manner doesn't have the same impact, but hey, we've all got to live with that. So, and another way I've tried to help some people as well is the when they come to me with clear cases of exploitation. It's not something I like doing, and I don't really want people to do it. I want people to have the ability to do it themselves. But when people get ignored, when they're going through the turmoil and aftermath of their gambling, to get ignored by these companies or to be treated with disdain is something I don't tolerate. That's why I get involved. And I'm at the moment, there's 2 angles to this particular comment, that this particular topic in relation to Asper's Casino. Now, Asper's Casino were fined fairly recently for usual offences. This time it involved someone taking their life. And, the Gambling Commission waited for a kind of a big news story to put that news out there. I think it was the Oxford report that caused a lot of debate. Gambling Commission put the Asper's fine out on that day. Worse still, they didn't even put it on Twitter, and they've done it with every other case. So this gives people an insight as to what they're up to, and I don't like what they do. They don't protect people. So, and the second strand of the Asper's cases was someone came to me afterwards, and I looked over his case for quite considerable time, and I'm looking at it thinking, this is actually identical in time to the case that was published by the Gambling Commission. And this guy, arguably the facts of the case, other than the tragic suicide, is worse. Okay. So I thought, since he'd been brushed aside, I would try and intervene. So I studied his material and I put up a reasonable argument as to say, this is exploitation. Now, Asper's completely have ignored me. So what choice do I have other than to publicly say, name them and say, what you do is disgraceful, because this person I'm trying to help is very mentally unstable. He's got psychological issues, and you're ignoring me, and you're basically ignoring him. So I'm the one that has to tell this person, look, they're ignoring you. So that's kind of what I do on the side to help others, whilst we're in this bit of a vacuum, I guess. And as I say, it's not something I like doing, and I want to empower people to be able to do it themselves, really, and get that army of warriors out there armed with the relevant information. But I also know that's a tough process, because a lot of people don't want to know, and that's fine. That's completely fine. I don't want to push it on people. Kind of put the information out there, and if people want to dig into it, then great. But that comes with another part added to their journey in some ways, because they then thinking, hang on a minute, I'm joining the dots up, and I'm starting to get a bit angry towards this exploitation. I'm getting angry towards the Gambling Commission. But that does create an army, and I try and help people manage those issues, those emotions, and anger that come with that journey. But I firmly believe it's the best way forward for us to get change together. So the more people that know what's going on, the better. But I feel let down. I really feel let down by people, organisations that could do a lot more, that don't. And again, I think I'll talk about that a little bit more with the crime side as we move forward.